So, one of the things, if not one of the top things that people did not like about the series was basically the way certain characters were written. Mostly what many would consider the assassination of Teela's character. Because if this is supposed to be the same Teela character from the Filmation series, or at least that's what it's alluded to originally, then honestly, who does Kevin Smith or even the voice actress for Teela, Sarah Michelle Gellar, trying to kid? Because this is not Teela. This is someone completely different. It's basically like somebody took the OC, put it in the body of Teela, and tried to pass it off as Teela. Or, as some reports put it, Kevin Smith's plans for the Red Sonja book, or project he wanted to do that Marvel denied him of, it's pretty much his plans or his idea of what he wanted to do with Red Sonja, and basically it's been placed into the body of Teela. Like, this is what he wanted Red Sonja to be, so he placed it in the body of Teela. And again, a lot of people look at this and they ask Kevin and they ask Sarah, like, who do you think you're trying to kid by trying to pass this off as being the same Teela, or at least similar, if not alluded to being the same Teela from the Filmation series? Because as far as a lot of fans go that enjoy the new series, more power to them, and some that are kind of divided, indecisive of it, and some that just flat out hate it, the reason they would say this or look at it this way is because to them, when they would watch the original series, either they grew up with it or they become new to it, aware of it throughout their lives. They would realize that Teela in the original series, which this show is supposed to be somewhat of a sequel to, would never act this way. That she would basically be the kind of character that would smack herself, slap herself upside the head for not seeing the obvious, in front of her face the whole time. For not, putting two and two together. But apparently we can't have that here. Because according to what Kevin Smith said, he saw what Teela's life was, being built upon, and that's lies, which it wasn't. There was just a few secrets, if not one main secret, that was kept from her until the time was right. And he basically felt that presented itself for some good drama, some good character development, if you will. And, honestly, he couldn't be more wrong. He couldn't be. I mean, look, I understand, like anybody understands, that, you want to have a strong female lead in a lot of shows nowadays because of, the times we're in, because of all these different groups and agendas and everything that are out there. You want to have something that keeps them off your back, some kind of representation, and we all understand that. We may not like it, but we understand it. But that doesn't mean you take a character that's iconic to a lot of kids, or a lot of people that grew up on this character from the original series, as well as those that, like I said, are new to the series or have become new to the series throughout their time growing up. You don't take a character like this and use her to try to, quill those agendas, quill those, groups, if you will, from, getting on your back. Instead, what you do is you keep that character true to who she or he were and go from there. I mean, if you want to tweak the character a little bit, that's fine, but not go all the way crazy with it. And that's why a lot of people feel that her character was assassinated, in this show. It's like, why would you, take a character like this and have her act this way? It doesn't make sense. It's not who she is. Which is why a lot of people feel that this is an OC placed in the body of Teela and passed off as her, or is basically what Kevin Smith had planned for Red Sonja, and so because those plans fell through, Kevin Smith took his interpretation of Red Sonja and placed her in the body of Teela. And a lot of people are not approving of this. And on top of that, you have Teela now becoming more LGBTQ lesbian-like, and it's like, it's like you, Kevin Smith, are trying to deny that's not a fact, but you see it in the series just by the moments, little scenes, her and Drea have. It's like, come on, seriously, who do you think you're kidding? It just doesn't make any real sense as to why he would try to deny all this, and again, getting back to the way she's acting, if this was done, and I've said this before and others will back me up on it, if this revelation was done as, in the original series run, basically, then Teela, honestly, as she's represented there, yeah, she'd be a little angry, but she'd also be sad at the death and sacrifice of her friend. And, instead of being angstered and, fully angry and to the point that she turns her back on everything she's taught to believe in and she was training for just to go off and be a mercenary for hire, instead she'd want to know why. And if you want to start developing a story around that, that's fine. That way, if you want to make her the central focus, going that route where she wants to know why this was kept secret from her and her learning about it and going from there, and going down the same story path that you went, with Revelation, as we speak, it wouldn't have been a problem. I don't think it would have been a problem because, you're keeping the character true to who she originally was, and you're still able to accomplish the story, or at least tell the story the way you originally planned it to from the beginning. But because you decided to go the route you did, Teela has become a very despised character. A lot of people look at this version of Teela as being nothing more than a self-absorbed, whiny little bitch brat who's angered at the fact that she wasn't told that He-Man and Adam were one and the same. And it's like, really? You're really gonna do this with her character instead of having her understand why it was kept a secret? Again, this is why I said in the live stream, and I've said previously as well in another video, this is why I think a lot of people like myself are hoping that maybe what happens at the end of this, potentially is, the sorceress either reverses time and we go back to when, she's about to become the new woman at arms, taking the place of Man at Arms, Duncan's role, or taking over for it, and basically at the same time she wipes the memory of Teela and those associated with her, knowing that Adam and He-Man were one and the same, putting it back to the status quo. That's the only way I think this show, if not Teela's character, could be salvaged. If this, turns out that if in the end, her memory of He-Man and Adam being one and the same, and maybe time being reversed by the sorceress after things are, resolved, takes place. That's the only way it could, salvage her character. But yeah, it's like, you want to know why people, one of the main things people are upset about when it comes to the show, Teela's character being assassinated in their eyes, is one of them. And it shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened. Now, I know people will say, well, you need to learn to adapt, and this is, how things are now, and, this and that, and I get that. That's fine. If you want to believe that this was for the best, then more power to you. No problem. But a lot of people, that, Kevin Smith, lied to about what the series was not going to be, and it turned out to be what he tried to deny it was going to be, and he's trying to backtrack on it now. A lot of people just are not happy with what he's done to Teela. And again, I've said it before, others have said it before, that if he would have just came out and said, hey, this is what the first half's going to be like, and the second half is going to make up for that, or it's going to be a big payoff that you're going to enjoy, then that's fine. If he would have alluded to the fact that the first half was going to be about Teela, and the second half was going to be kind of like maybe mostly about Adam rediscovering himself and stuff like that, along with Teela's help, then more power to Kevin Smith, because at least he's letting us know that something's going to balance it out, but he's not giving much away. But yet, but yet that's not what he did. Instead, he fought with the fans. He said that Teela was not going to be the central focus, and she is. Teela was not going to potentially have an LGBTQ lover or love interest, yet she does. And it's like, seriously, who do you think you're trying to kid? Who do you think you're trying to kid? Especially if you're trying to pass this off as the same Teela from the original series. Who are you trying to kid? Because like I said, that Teela would have smacked herself upside the head being like, oh, why didn't I see it in front of me the whole time? Why didn't I put two and two together? And again, that wouldn't have distracted from the story being told. The point is, the series obviously some people do like it. There are some that do like it, but they don't like how characters like Teela are written. That, to me, I think what really would have maybe gotten people more invested in this and willing to give it a chance is, if characters like Teela, if their personalities, their characteristics were not butchered and not assassinated. I mean, here's the thing. Did DC assassinate Lois Lane's character when she found out that Superman and Clark were one and the same, or Clark decided to finally tell her the truth? No, they didn't. Did they do the same when Peter Parker decided to share the fact that he and Spider-Man are one and the same with Mary Jane? No, they didn't. They didn't assassinate or modify or butcher any of their characters. They kept them somewhat the same. And they kept them to a point that they had an understanding as to why, Clark kept the secret away from Lois till the time was right, or why Peter kept the secret away from Mary Jane till the time was right. Because they wanted to make sure they were mature enough and mentally ready enough to accept that secret and keep that secret. Teela here, the way she's being portrayed, is not mentally and maturely ready. I said it best, I'll say it again. The Teela we're getting here is basically a teenager. She is a teenager in her late teens, early 20s, if you will, that mentally maturely, is not ready. That's what she is. And you can argue with me on that. You can argue with me on that and debate me on that all you want. And you can do the same with anybody else that agrees on that. But when you really look at it, in the way she's acting, it's a teenager, a teenager in her late teens, early 20s, early adulthood, if you will, going through the rebellious, stage, going through the angst rebellious stage. And that's what she's doing. She's going through a rebellious angst stage. And that's something she shouldn't be going through. That's something she shouldn't be going through. That instead she should be more understanding of the situation. Like I said, you could have had to wonder why they didn't tell her, why she wasn't, told of this. Maybe be sad and a little angered, but not to this point. And you could have built the story around that still. But that didn't happen. Instead, we ended up getting a Teela that's not Teela. It's either an OC in the body of Teela, or it's Red Sonja placed in the body of Teela by Kevin Smith, because he couldn't get the Red Sonja project he wanted from Marvel. But we'll never know. But everybody has their opinions on it one way or another. But yeah, if you want to know one of the big problems, the major problems when it comes to Revolution, it's Teela's character assassination. And it wasn't for the better. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Comment down below. Let me know how you feel about it. Agree or not. Let me know what your thoughts are on the live chat during the premiere. And I will talk to you later. I do apologize if I stumbled on my words and I was repetitive. It is late. It's about 2:01 in the morning. But let me know what your thoughts are. And I am out.